I mean, look at this. Look at this game, bro. Look at this game, bro. You're shitting me. This is like first time seeing the Halo ring, being on it. Like, what's going on, YouTube? Scar here, and today we're gonna be talking about all things season 2: the good, the bad, and the ugly. The marathon magic is definitely back in force for season 2. Damn! I've been enjoying the hell out of the game with all of the new content additions. Everything feels fresh, and you can tell the devs went over the game with a fine tooth and comb for another polish. In this video, I'm going to talk about all the changes and feelings I get from them. From slight UI tweaks, refreshes to contracts, new contracts, reworked faction progression, the implant reworks, new weapon chip mods, new guns, the new runner Sentinel, the new Cradle skill tree system, the new map Marsh, and the new sponsored survival mode. It's all been a great time and the game feels fresh for season 2. And I'm going to share with you my first impressions of it all. The elephant in the room is definitely progression. Progression feels a lot faster this season. Maybe too fast. While I think this is definitely a step in the right direction, it feels like it might be a step too far. But we'll be able to tell with more time. The developers mentioned they wanted more players to be able to completely max out faction progression and remove as many walls from that as they can. And honestly, I kinda see the vision. After gathering the data from Season 1, Season 2 brought us reworked faction upgrades and reworked contracts to give you more rewards and salvage that can go directly to those faction upgrades. I like this change a lot. It's more cohesive and definitely accomplishes that goal of making faction progression easier. But it's not just the progression that's gotten easier. There seems to be a mass availability of higher quality loot as well. Players were seeing blue, purple, and even a handful of gold items and kits within a few days. The game went free to play for a little over a week to open up Season 2 and saw a rise in player population with returning players trying out the new wipe and new players just trying out the game. I should mention on day 1 of the season, there were server issues with the game being down for like 8 hours on the first day. Bungie directly compensated affected users with 3 deluxe sponsored kits or blue tier kits. Player sentiment argues that this has contributed to the feeling of a fast economy progression, but at the same time, it felt right for the developers to compensate players for the inconvenience of server downtime, the messed up plans of gaming, and even the lost gear. Along with the compensation kits, there was a new quote-unquote loot farm that was being taken advantage of. The new upper complex area in Marsh seemed to have an incredible amount of high quality loot up for the taking, and this could be accessed in the PvP light mode or the sponsored survival mode, where players can experience little to no friction from PvP threats. I'll share more of my thoughts on the progression later, but for now, let's talk about this upper complex loot farm. I extensively tried the sponsored survival playlist, eventually working my way to figuring out the new upper complex area. But first, I want to talk about the playlist itself. Sponsored survival loads in one crew with base free kits into an 18-minute Night Marsh run with a handful of rooks, and everyone's only way out is through the final exfil at the end of the run. I think this mode in general is great fun. It leans more casual and allows players to experience Night Marsh in all of its beauty and horror without fear of getting vaporized by enemy teams. It allows for more exploration, allows them to complete contracts, get a pick-me-up package of loot, and like I said, really experience and learn the map, making the game feel a bit more accessible, which I think is a win. Let's talk about the juicy bit. Night Marsh features a new area, the upper level of Complex, that has a series of rooms with button puzzles sequences that must be completed to move forward, eventually leading you to a room with waves of UESC and a boss fight, which is followed by its pinnacle loot. I tried this quote-unquote loot farm for myself just to see what the hype was about. It was difficult at first. Sometimes you don't get the observation labs key that you need in time. Sometimes the right buttons in the puzzle sequence can just feel impossible to find. And sometimes you just die. a lot.
No! Please!
In the sponsored playlist with minimal gear and weapons, it was definitely a bit challenging. I was beginning to wonder how people are even completing this often enough to farm it. But eventually I was able to get the hang of it, move through the puzzle rooms a bit quicker, complete the boss fight, and get to that pinnacle loot. It's good fun, it's engaging, and it almost feels like you're doing a speed run because you're given so little time and every second counts. You have to farm UESC certs, unlock UESC caches, and hope you get the Observation Labs key to drop, which starts the boss fight. Then you have to go to Upper Complex and actually do it, all in under 18 minutes. The Pinnacle loot room does actually have pretty great rewards, with high tier purple and gold loot being up for grabs. I've completed this a handful of times in PvP Nightmarsh as well, and it's significantly easier since you have your own weapons and gear. You just need to worry about other teams trying to grief you along the way. It was cool to learn how Upper Complex works, but I don't think the devs foresaw players spamming it for all the high tier rewards. Anyway, this whole god tier loot farm will be a thing of the past. The dev team announced a slight nerf to prestige/gold loot drops this week, and the sponsored playlist will be rotating to Perimeter next. My overall thoughts on the sponsored survival playlist: the game mode in and of itself is pretty cool. It allows the game to be more accessible to all players, and even hardcore players or PvP enthusiasts like myself have it as a place to warm up, get some decent pick-me-up loot, and just overall have a low cortisol marathon run. Moving forward, let's talk about the new runner, Sentinel. Sentinel honestly seems relatively strong. While Sentinel is clearly not a dominating force that is shifting the game's atmosphere, they do bring a unique bag of tricks to Tau City 4, with defensive setups via traps, motion tracking, and passive buffs to resistance, consumable use, and weapon handling. I've been enjoying Sentinel here and there, and will definitely be playing as them more. I've slowly fallen back to my two favorites, Recon and Vandal. I don't want to speak too soon on whether or not this character needs a balance adjustment, because I think they'll begin to show even more value slowly as the wipe progresses. And Sentinel's got some really solid cores available that strengthen their kit, like increased range on traps or extra snare trap charges, and more. Sentinel excels in close quarters combat, and I would like to think they're really going to shine in Cryo Archive. Let's keep in mind that this is still a very new runner and still working to find their place in the game. As players get more time with them and push their abilities to their limits, I think this runner will shine a bit more. Let's move on to the new weapons in Season 2. Aside from new, unique versions of previous weapons, there are two totally new weapons in Season 2. The KKV SMG and the D54 Battle Pistol. Keeping it short and sweet, the D54 Battle Pistol is pretty fantastic. It excels in close and mid-range combat and proves to be a very reliable weapon. Maybe too reliable. The KKV SMG, on the other hand, is honestly a bit underwhelming. While it does absolutely eviscerate enemies that are 5 to 10 meters away, anything beyond 10 meters and it's effectively a pea shooter. The Battle Pistol gives more primary gun energy and the KKV gives more sidearm energy. Maybe I just haven't used either of them enough, but I would like to see the KKV brought up to speed with just a bit more range and less damage drop off, so that it can rival its counterparts, namely the Bully SMG, which has been and still is best in slot since the game's release. What gun was it? What gun was it?
It's the new auto-silence submachine gun.
Yeah, it is asset range.
I thought with holding stock I have
Next, let's talk about the Cradle. The new Cradle skill progression system is great in my opinion. It allows for direct customization of your runner's attributes, upgrading stats, and moving points around at will. Cradle XP is earned by converting or sacrificing your own gear and loot that you find. Overall, I think this is absolutely fantastic. A great way to customize your runner, and miles better than the old system of having these attributes put behind faction upgrades. Key templates have gotten a rework as well. Key templates will now require you to accomplish different objectives to convert the template into a key. Objectives like defeat 4 runners with a finisher, or loot a certain number of UESC transport drones, or defeat a UESC warden, and more. The progress on these carries over through runs as well. Gone are the days of loading in with all of your key templates and sitting at the edge of the map so you don't get downed and lose it. I like this change a lot. Next, there are a few new gear modifiers as well. In Season 1, we had a few gear modifiers that could be found like Materialist or Bloodthirsty and more. Season 2 brings several new modifiers to the table. There's the Warped modifier, which transforms the item into a random item of the same type upon infill, and has a small chance to gain rarity and lose this effect. There's Contender, which will give you a ranked holo tag based upon your current rank. There's Level Up. Exfil with this modifier a certain number of times and that piece of gear upgrades to the next rarity tier. There's Bot Killer, which grants a weapon chip mod upon exfil with rarity based on number of bots killed. And then there's Favored, which gives you extra faction rep when exfilling valuables for that faction. There's Upcycled, which gives 25% more Cradle XP when converting it to a sacrifice for the Weaveworm gods. These are just the ones I've found so far. If I'm missing any, please let me know. But these gear modifiers are great and bring another level of variability and uniqueness to gear and weapons in Marathon. So let's get back to the elephant in the room, progression. A handful of social media sentiment argues that player progression has been top-loaded, with the upper complex loot farm, deluxe kit boosted economy, and even a late nerf from the dev team to Cradle XP. There's arguments that there is now a progression disparity between people who grinded the game early and often and those who didn't. Even saying that this wipe is quote-unquote ruined, or even calls to reset the wipe. My personal opinion, I think that's absurd. While I won't discount the fact that players who grinded early and often were able to maximize advantage of the loot farming into progression, I think it's a far cry from the wipe being quote-unquote ruined. Players that play the game 10 plus hours a day consistently were going to be ahead of the general population anyway. The general population is still progressing, normally, with a seemingly healthy balance of loot economy. With the wider availability of high tier loot, I think these new changes of more rewarding runs and faster progression really respect the average player's time and are a step in the right direction, but it's going to require a bit of fine-tuning to get it just right. And with the data from this season, the game will only continue to evolve and be better. While using high tier loot does slightly increase a player's chances of survival, it most certainly does not guarantee survival. My friend Missile Mike said a quote I really like. "It's not your gear, it's just your turn with it. Because sooner rather than later, you're going to lose that gear." A testament to the fact that high tier gear did not and will not guarantee your survival. So please, can the discussions of the wipe is ruined, because it's definitely not, and the marathon magic is definitely alive and well in Season 2. What do you guys think of Season 2 so far? I'd like to hear more thoughts and well laid out perspectives on Season 2 and its changes. In short, I think it's good. One, I think most players will be able to actually max their factions and Cradle progression. Two, they'll be able to experience everything the game has to offer, rather than only a select population or subset of players maxing everything out. Three, I think this will positively affect player progression over time, but it definitely needs some tweaks. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. This has been Scar, and thanks so much for watching my video. See you on Tau City 4.